Get started here, and first on the agenda, before we get started with our action items, we have two items. I want to take a moment to recognize National Public Works Week, so I'm going to do that, and then I will invite Mr. Dr. Bill Pink forward to give us a presentation and update on GRCC. But first I'll ask our city manager to join me down here. Come on up and we'll get a picture. So today is a special day where we get to honor all of our great city employees for their incredible work. So I'm going to read just a brief proclamation and then I'm going to turn it over to our city manager to say a few words. And then we'll ask Tom Almonte to say a few words. So this proclamation is dedicated to National Public Works Week. So whereas public works infrastructure, facilities, and services are of vital importance to sustainability and resilient communities and the public health, safety, and well-being of citizens and visitors to our great city. Whereas such facilities and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of City of Grand Rapids Public Works professionals who have responsibilities within facilities, fleet maintenance, forestry, engineering, parks, recycling, refuse collection, street maintenance, traffic safety, drinking water, and wastewater around the clock to ensure the health, safety, and quality of life in our entire community. Whereas it is the mission of all public works professionals to use sustainable solutions to bring their communities the highest possible quality of life within a framework of environmental, social, and economic responsibility. Whereas the year 2019 marks the 59th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now therefore I, Rosalind Bliss, Mayor of our great city, hereby proclaim the week of May 19th through the 25th as National Public Works Week in our city, and I encourage all Grand Rapidians to acknowledge and recognize our incredible employees.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, everyone here. I'm so honored to work with the men and women that you see represented here and those that are not among us today, and I do greatly appreciate the work that they do, particularly in public works. Having worked in the public works department a couple of years earlier in my career, I can have a first-hand appreciation of what is done in the industry, but specifically having seen what is done day in and day out, particularly during extreme weather incidents, and I had the benefit of riding around with some of our public works professionals during the polar vortex and the sacrifices that they make to be away from their family and make sure that we're able to access all the services, infrastructure services is greatly appreciated. I want to thank them for their work. Also, I want to thank the leadership of our department directors and as well as Mr. Almonte and Mr. DeLong. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Almonte.
Thank you, City Manager. And, I really just want to say thank you to the team. We get up every morning and we go on our own ways. But behind the scene, there are teams that get up early in the morning to make sure that not only we have the systems that are working, but the city is running the way they should be run. And they do it because they love this community. None of them, if you were to ask them, they took a job here to become millionaire, but they took a job here so they can go home and say to their kids, I actually make the city a better place. And I want to say thank you to each one of them. And I want to say thank you. James Hurt is not here today. He is in a different assignment. And I want to say thank you to him and to Dave and also to Gary Reamer and Chuck with Environmental Services. And obviously thank you to the City Commission and the City Manager and the Mayor for their support and the work that Eric does within our group. Thank you.
Let's slide over a little bit.
All right, thank you. So next, we are going to spend a little time hearing from one of our key community stakeholders and partners in the city. So I want to welcome Dr. Pink to our chambers as he provides an update about the great work happening at GRCC.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Mayor. Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, City Manager Washington, and good morning, Commissioners. It's an honor for me to spend a little bit of time, and I'm going to try to stick to a little bit of time, but as I often say, it's dangerous to give a college president a microphone. So we tend to talk about one of our favorite topics, which is our college. And so I want to give you an update on your community's college this morning, and happy to field any questions after it's over with. Some of the information you'll see, I'll try to go through quickly because there's several slides I want to make sure I get to, because it's so appropriate, Mayor, that you're recognizing this is Public Works Week because of the work that we do with the city that I'll talk about here in just a little bit. So a little bit about GRCC, just giving you some update. Most of this information would be information that you are familiar with, but some of the information has updated numbers that you will hopefully be able to recognize. As you see with the first slide, the bullet point I want to show you, I want to specifically point out here, first of all, is the second bullet point. In talking about, because we have so many people that ask so often in terms of the skills gap and all the things associated with jobs and talent and what can the community college do. Well, as you know, GRCC, when you talk about, when people ask how many students we have at GRCC, on the credit-bearing side, those people who are going for associate degrees and credit-bearing certificates who are aimed to go to another institution and such, we're about 13,500, about 13,500, 13,800, something like that. When you add in the number that you see there in the second bullet of the work we do around job training, workforce training, customized training, things that either send people to work or upskill them in the work that they're doing. Last year, we recorded over 17,000 that we sent through our workforce and customized training programs. Now, you want to talk about what is happening in terms of what we do with trying to meet those skills gap. This is a piece, just a chunk. And as you see, over 400 companies we work with. I had a conversation a few weeks ago with some folks at the federal level asking about community college and our work when it comes to how we work with companies. And when you see that we here in West Michigan, from a GRCC perspective, work with over 400 companies to make sure that we are able to not assume that we know what they need, but we ask them what they need. We want to know if we're going to build a program with them, what do those competencies need to be? We never want to assume that we know those things. We need our partners telling us that. And as you see in that last bullet, my challenge always, and if anyone at GRCC asks you what 2 words is he going to talk about, it's being relevant and being responsive. If we're not relevant and responsive, we will not find ourselves here anymore. I don't care if you're a university, a college, an organization, doesn't matter. All you got to do is go as far as to call Blockbuster. Well, you can't call Blockbuster anymore because they don't exist anymore, because they lost that idea of what it means to be relevant and responsive to their community. We never want to be in that space. As I often say, GRCC being the oldest community college in the state of Michigan, we are also one of the oldest in the country, celebrating our 100-year anniversary some 4 or 5 years ago. And as you see and as you know, with our main campus being here downtown, we also not only have our campus downtown, we also have the Tassel MTech over on Godfrey. We also have about 4 different locations in the county of Ottawa County where we offer training and programs there and degrees there as well. All said and done, we have somewhere over 1,000 students in Ottawa County that we service as well. And you see some of the data there as well. Often get the question about our partnerships with high schools and with our K-12 partners. It is important for us to have a robust relationship with our K-12 partners, so much so that I sit with our KISD superintendents on a regular basis. When they have their meetings, I am blessed to be a part of their meetings so that we have an ear and a voice at the table to be able to engage with our K-12 partners here in Kent County as much as possible. 2 of the things that we do quite well, dual enrollment and concurrent enrollment. Dual enrollment around classes that students take from us while they're in high school. Maybe they're coming to campus, maybe they're taking it online. We, last year, somewhere over 720 students, high school students, took advantage of what we do as far as dual enrollment is concerned. Concurrent enrollment also when we actually go out to the schools, to some of the high schools and teach classes as well. You see that we have faculty in over 10 schools and what that number looks like. It's important to us, but the one that people mostly ask about is the early middle college, because middle college is one of those answers for many people when it comes to, and sidebar, stop my time, don't count the time right here. It really gets under my skin when I hear all the talk about college debt, and it's ridiculous. The latest numbers nationally, $1.5 trillion in debt as far as higher education is concerned. I maintain that that's not our story, because our story, part of what it happens with community college, because of our price point at being able to provide a world-class education at an incredible price point, also has to do with what we do in middle college. So our students will come to middle college. They will start with us in the 10th grade while they're in high school taking some college classes. 11th grade, same thing, but more college classes than with their high school classes. 12th grade, they're taking a bulk of college classes at that point with a few high school classes. And then while their friends and buddies are graduating, they're staying one more year. They have one more year of high school left, which is only probably taking about 1 or 2 more classes, and a bulk of college classes with us. They finish that 13th year and they're graduating their high school diploma and an associate degree, and they have paid $0 when it comes to their tuition. 3 weeks ago, we just graduated another class of middle college students. Wyoming High School is one of our main, they were our first partner in this regard. We graduated about our 3rd cohort with them 3 weeks ago, in addition to Cedar Springs. Also out in West Ottawa High School out at the Career Line Tech Center over in Ottawa County as well. Had a graduating class from there as well 3 weeks ago. We're looking forward to the fact that our middle college with the KISD will be approaching a graduation there in about, I want to say it's a year after next. Also, our Ottawa Hills High School Middle College will be graduating. We have about another 3 years left before we'll start seeing the benefits of those. But we added East Kentwood High School last year, and right now the biggest problem is capacity, because everyone wants to, and understandably so, want to be a part of what we do around middle college. Real quick, you also see as far as transfer is concerned, that means a lot to us, because most of our students come to us and they say, I want to come to GRCC and I want to then go to Grand Valley, Western, Ferris, Davenport, wherever it is. Our transfer rates still look very good. What we find is that some people will get into that conversation of what our graduation rate looks like. Well, I'll tell you, our graduation rate looks lower in terms of what we are providing students, because some students do not want to come to us to graduate with an associate degree. I'll tell you about my neighbor who lives 3 doors away from us at our house here in the Grand Rapids area. My neighbor came to me last summer and she was thrilled because she said, my son did exactly what he was planning to do. He came to you for 1 year, now he transferred to Michigan State and he's just off and running and it's so good. Thank you for what CC did for him. So much so that his little brother graduates next year and he's going to do the very same thing. And that is an awesome story, because we are giving him exactly what he needs. Now, what does that do for my graduation rate? Makes it even worse. But that's okay if we're able to give students what they need. And those are conversations that we're having at the national and the regional level as a Higher Learning Commission Board of Trustee. Myself, I have those conversations a lot with the Higher Learning Commission in terms of defining what completion looks like. Sometimes we think completion is always geared around that degree. Some of our students do not come to GRCC to get the associate degree. They come to get that first year, year and a half, so that now they are ready for that 4-year school. I want completion to be defined by the student, not by me. Very quickly also, you see, and you've seen in the slideshow some of the things we do on the workforce side. I won't go through those. Suffice that to say, we are blessed to have some very robust grant opportunities on our campus from the federal level as well as the state level. Right now, that America's Promise grant that sits on our campus, that's a regional grant involving other community colleges that we have pulled in as the lead. That's a $6 million grant. That was the largest America's Promise grant given in our country. And so we were one of the few recipients of the full $6 million. That grant is geared toward healthcare and getting more people in the healthcare space and getting them jobs. You probably remember about a year and a half, 2 years ago, we did our impact study, economic impact, because my question was, what is the economic footprint of this great institution in Kent County? What we found out is that we are almost right at knocking on the door of $500 million in Kent County alone of economic impact and our economic footprint to this county. You add another 35 million when it comes to Ottawa County. And when you also factor in the work that we do on the workforce development side of things, we did a separate study of that, just separate alone. What does that footprint look like of just that workforce development, job training work? And that came in right about almost 300 million on its own. And so we're very, very proud of the economic footprint that we have here in West Michigan. Real quick, because I want to make sure I get to this part, as the mayor mentioned, this being Public Works Week nationally, and as the mayor and the city manager have declared that for Grand Rapids, I want to brag on our partnership. When I say our partnership, I'm talking about you and GRCC, City of Grand Rapids and Grand Rapids Community College, because what happened is that City of Grand Rapids as well as the City of Kentwood came together with Community College and said, how do we do better in terms of getting people jobs in public works? Because we all realize in our municipalities, there are shortages in terms of talent. Surprise there, right? Shortages everywhere. How would we not think that there would be a shortage as far as public works is concerned? So we got together, and together with you and as mentioned earlier, James Hurd, your director of public works, he's been incredible for us in terms of working with us in developing this public works academy. And that's what we were able to do with the City of Grand Rapids, along with the City of Kentwood. Nationally validated credentials within this academy. You will see it's about actually this says 96 hours, it's about 111 hour program. And as you see the rundown there, it provides several nationally recognized credentials for those going through the academy. We just finished 2 cohorts just this month. Finished 2 additional cohorts of that Public Works Academy, where somewhere of the 28 people that went through, I want to say about 23 were from the City of Grand Rapids, and 87% of that class, graduating class, were people of color. And so what we're doing in working very closely with the city is not only looking at what a workforce looks like, but also in terms of what the diversity of workforce and of work would look like. You see some of the partners there. The reason these partners are so important is because these are some of the partners who help feed the pipeline, right? So these are our partners who send people our way. Michigan Works, the Urban League, and others that help send those people our way so that we can get them trained and so that we can get them to work. And that Public Works Academy right now, I will tell you, one of the nice things about James Hurd is that he has been on at least 3 different occasions with us nationally, traveling with us, talking about the Public Works Academy as a best practice. It is catching national attention with what we're doing with you. And so those presentations we were made, down in Texas or in California, it's been awesome for James to be able to come along and tell the story of what's going on here in Grand Rapids when it comes to partnerships and collaborations that get people to work. And that's the only way you can get it done. I will leave you with one of your longtime employees who's gone through the academy, Diane Feist. And you see her quote, "I think the program is great. I've been working for the City of Grand Rapids for a while, and I still learned things I didn't know. I really enjoyed it and thought it was cool that it was taught by both GRCC instructors and representatives from the employers, because the people in the academy go and visit. They come out to this. They go to the city. They go to where our public works folks are working, and they look and observe what that work looks and sounds like. And it's amazing some of the stories that we get, because people are not only, in this case, not only folks coming in and getting to work, but some of your people that you have working already upskilling and getting more in terms of their training and skills so that we can make sure that this public works pipeline that we have here in Grand Rapids stays robust. And we can only do that partnering with you. We get together with you. I'm always curious to know what's next. That's why I love meeting with the mayor and with the city manager and many of you, because I'm always curious to say, what can we be doing next? Because I love to go and travel to places and tell them what's happening in Grand Rapids and have people come up afterwards and say, tell me how you did that. It gives us opportunity to brag because I'm a person who's a bit competitive.
Really?
I like to be first at the dance. I like to be the only one dancing for a little while. And that's what our partnership has done with you. So with that, I will say that concludes the work and the business of Grand Rapids Community College. When it comes to the city of Grand Rapids, I'll be happy to have any and entertain any questions you might have.
Great. Well, I'll start more with a comment than a question, then I'll open up for my colleagues. So one, I want to say thank you. We really appreciate all of our partnership with GRCC, but also you and your leadership. And I know we work together on a number of initiatives, and just really appreciate all of your work.
Thank you.
And then publicly, I don't know if everyone knows, but I want to publicly congratulate you again for the recent appointment by Governor Whitmer onto the Michigan Economic Development Corporation
Thank you.
Executive Committee. That's a wonderful appointment. We are glad to see West Michigan represented and you around that very, very important table. So
Thank you.
congratulations.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Colleagues, any questions for Dr. Pink? I think I'll start down here with Commissioner Moody, then Commissioner Lanier, and then Commissioner Jones.
Dr. Pink, thank you for the work that you've done at Grand Rapids CC, which I happen to be alumni at that college. So.
And you're a proud alumni of ours.
The other thing is that I didn't hear much about, I know we're talking about workforce development to a degree, but is there anything that you want to share with us about your daycare child program that you have at the college?
So we opened the Fratsky Child Development Center about 2 years ago, and that Child Development Center also is very connected to our community, to the early learning neighborhood collaborative with Dr. Essay and others in trying to make sure that not only what happens in that center serves kids, because we have many kids that are in there every day, but there's also the training that's happening there as well, as we are training our workforce in terms of early care. We are very partnered with First Steps Kent as well, because what we want to do is make sure from a community college perspective that we are able to do any and everything we can to add value to the work that's being done there. There's also a population at that child center that come from our community and our immediate neighborhood that may not necessarily have the funds to appropriately provide that child care. There are some programmatic funds that we provide there as well for some of those more disadvantaged people to be able to still have their kids in there. We have many rock stars in there, but that's led by Becky Brinks and Jane Ann Benson. They did an awesome job.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Lanier?
Thank you so much, Dr. Pink, for that overview and update. So what you may not know is that millions of people watch this meeting every time we gather. And so if you could answer two questions for me, really for the public's purpose.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about how, if one is interested in middle college, as well as the public works program that you talked about, how would they join or get involved? Does it come from the employer or the school, or can someone on their own reach out to get involved and enrolled?
Great question, Commissioner Lanier. And so two things. So when it comes to middle college, that really needs to be a conversation with the principal at their high school, even with their district superintendent. Because with our partnership, the partnership that we engage in that is directly with the district and the high school itself. Mm-hmm. Because what we have to do is create that critical mass so that, because with our middle colleges right now, we don't have a shortage of people wanting to be a part of it at those high schools, but that high school has to voluntarily say, yes, we want in on it, and then we work directly with the high school to make that happen. So it would be a good conversation with their principal. As far as Public Works Academy and anything else that we offer, I would encourage people to go to our website, www.grcc.edu, because on the website, if you're interested in public works, You go to the website, do a search, and just search Public Works Academy. It will come up and tell you not just that program, but it will tell you all of those programs that happen at our Tassel MTech in terms of some of those workforce and job training programs. But they also can get information on that website in terms of if they're thinking, you know, I just need to get to work, or I just want to go back to school. All that information is there. We can get them connected to our advisors and counselors that can get them connected to whatever it is that they want to do, as far as whether it be that associate degree pathway, a certificate, or I just need some training to get to work. That website will be a good lead for them. And if nothing else, I always tell people, here's my card. I can get you connected to those people.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks again for the presentation. Very helpful.
Thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Jones?
Yep, thank you for your presence here, Dr. Pink, and I want to just give you a special shout out and for GRCC in particular for the work done by Nikki Banks and the Police Academy. We are obviously very dependent upon the work of both GRCC and GVSU, and I think that you all do a stellar job in preparing recruits for the opportunity to be police officers, and I just want to say thank you again, and want to give special kudos to Nikki Banks and the work she does. So.
They do an incredible job in the criminal justice program at our college. Our director of the Police Academy, Jermaine Reese, about the last year and a half he's been in place, has been very intentional about our work with our municipalities, so I appreciate that. I hope that you may have seen, in speaking of some of the work around criminal justice, I hope that you have seen we had a press release come out yesterday that was showcasing 3 of our students who are graduating from Grand Rapids Public Schools coming to GRCC next year. Those 3 individuals, 2 of which are the valedictorian and salutatorian at Ottawa Hills High School, and then also the valedictorian from Innovation Central. Shamsho is coming from Innovation, and what's cool about it is that Sienna and Tayana, who are coming from Ottawa Hills as valedictorian and salutatorian, they're twins. I met with them yesterday. I cannot tell one from the other. Their mom promised me that they weren't identical. I still don't believe her. But the reason why I mentioned that, Commissioner Jones, is because both of those young ladies are going into criminal justice. And they're coming for our criminal justice program. They wanted to graduate with their associates in criminal justice and move on to either Grand Valley or Alabama A&M. Friends, you help me out. We got to keep those ladies here. We got to keep them in Grand Rapids because I don't want them getting away from us. And so from that criminal justice standpoint, I think it was a strong statement to the strength of that program when we have a valedictorian, salutatorian coming specifically for that program. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Yep. That's awesome. Commissioner O'Connor?
Yeah, thank you. And it's, sitting here with the commissioner hat on, it's, obviously great that you've been a big supporter of helping us fill that next generation of skilled talent to work at the city. And when I'm not here with a suit on, I'm in the hospitality and culinary space, and so I'm fortunate to employ several alumni from your hospitality and culinary programs, and I really do appreciate the fact that those exist as Grand Rapids continues to grow as a tourism destination with a thriving food and beverage scene. Yes. The fact that you employ and create those skills and help educate people that those are great career pathways to be in. We certainly have a shortage of talent in those spaces as well, so the fact that you have the ability to train those people to help step in and fill those needs is important, so I appreciate that.
That's so true, Commissioner. When you are blessed to lead the best community college in the country, you also are blessed to lead the best culinary school in the country. And that is not biased at all, right? The Secchia Institute for Culinary Education is a staple in this community in terms of providing that hospitality and culinary workforce for West Michigan. And what we find when we look at our graduates, it's providing workforce for the rest of the United States as well as internationally when we have people going to other countries getting those jobs. And so I appreciate you mentioning that, Commissioner O'Connor, because we're proud of that Secchia Institute.
Yeah. Commissioner Calley?
Well, I too want to thank you. As a matter of fact, my son graduated from the Culinary Arts program, and unfortunately he's out in California. I'd love for him to come back, but really thank you for that and for the work that you're doing in construction too, because as we know, we lost a lot of people. They went south during the recession, and
yes.
that can't happen fast enough, and I'd love to talk to you more about that at some point because of your competitive nature. And finally, we couldn't help but notice that you are really a promoter of GRCC because of your beautiful yellow socks.
Sometimes I wear my name on my sleeve when I wear a pink shirt, and many times I wear my school on my socks. So thank you for that.
Right.
You're so true. We work very closely with many of our local construction companies. The Association of Builders and Contractors, Norm Brady, is a huge partner of us. With us, we have several hundred apprentices that come through our shop every year with construction and electrical, and ABC is a part of that, along with many of our construction companies. But it's so right, Commissioner Calley. We've got to make up for some lost ground, and we can't go fast enough. You talk to our construction companies and our workers, we can't get it fast enough. So I fully agree. Very open and willing to engage in how we can think very progressively about how we scale fast, because that's we as a region right now are lagging on that.
Well, and there's so many young people who don't have an opportunity in high school like we used to start to head in that direction of some of these jobs where you're spending a lot of time outdoors too. Not everybody wants to work inside at a desk, or not everybody wants to get a college degree and spend thousands and thousands of dollars, as you pointed out earlier.
And we have some really good partnerships now that we're pulling more and more of our high schools in, because the population we're also trying to reach is the very population you just mentioned, Commissioner Calley. We're asking those high schools, and they're coming to us also, because there's some of their high school students that they're saying, you know what, they're just barely getting through here and through some of this curriculum, some of the high school work, but they know that these folks are capable. They're very able. It's just this isn't touching their interest point. We're bringing them into our MTech. We're bringing them into our campus, and we're showing them some of these workforce and skilled trades programs, and actually catching some pretty cool traction on that. And so that's a really good partnership that's spinning up even more with many of our high schools, because we've got to get at this fact of so many students who have this desire, but this idea of school as we all have been taught what we were supposed to do, this track that we were all on, just isn't their track. We've got to make sure we give them a good track.
Well, thank you for that, because that's where the jobs are too. People have to have a living.
Yeah.
All right, and last comment or question, I'll turn to our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Dr. Pink, thank you for your partnership in not only ensuring workforce readiness for our community at large, but specifically what you have done partnering with us within our workforce, whether it's public safety or public works. Thank you for that. What's next? Our management team has been talking about leadership development around the values that we've adopted in our strategic plan, as well as other leadership competencies, and doing that at executive level, mid-management, supervisory, as well as individual contributor. So I've asked Assistant City Manager Matthews to work with our Human Resources Director to begin to flesh out that program. So we would certainly welcome partnerships from those in the community, as well as GRCC, as well as in Grand Valley. So look forward to that to come.
I do too. I will tell you that the two things I did not mention, City Manager Washington, aside from some of the other work we're doing in Public Works, we are very engaged with the city on the wastewater treatment, doing some classes there, as well as working with you on the restoration project, the river restoration. We hosted a meeting there earlier this month, and I will tell you, we'd be very interested in that type of work in terms of what you're looking at, of building that leadership model. Be happy to do that.
Thank you. Dr. Pink, thank you again. It's great to see you. It's great to
you.
partner with you, and we're so happy to have you in Grand Rapids.
Now, thank you for your partnership. We can't get it done without partnership, and this means a lot to us, so thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, Commissioners, now I'll take us to our action items. We have 8 items before us, and I also want to remind you, we do have, right after Committee of the Whole, we have 2 executive sessions based on a legal opinion. So I will call for that question right at the end of COW. I'll get started with item number 3. This is a resolution approving fiscal year 2020 service provision fees to be effective July 1 of this year. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, and we'll turn it to our CFO, Mr. Dude.
Mr. Dude. Good morning, Mayor and Commissioner, City Manager. So I'm happy to be here today as the hopefully the end here of a long series of meetings regarding the budget. So this will support the fees that will be used in the FY20 budget. Commission Policy 700-10, the user fee policy, is established each and every year. We prepare a list of fees, and then we hold a public hearing on them. There was one question at the public hearing, and that was about FOIA fees. I did look into that. FOIA fees are actually set by the state, and it's through Act 442, and up to 50% of costs can be added for fringe benefits. So it's an amount not to exceed 50%, but actual cost plus for indirect expenses. So that was the answer on that particular fee. So it's set by the state.
And Jeff, I saw the emails that went back and forth. Was that clarified in the language, just so that if a community member reads that, it's more clear?
We didn't actually update the list. We hid some columns this year to make some room so we could read it. So it's in that actually act piece that was hidden this year. But we can change. We didn't change the actual list. We're going to work on it next year. We have a note to actually make it more specific to say actual costs plus not to exceed amount of fringe only. So.
But is that clear on the website? So let's say I want to submit a FOIA and I go to the city website to do that. Is that really clear?
I'll have to check it. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So we'll do that as part of this.
If you could, I think
Sure.
that would be helpful.
We'll
Commissioner?
provide a
Yeah,
report
just as,
back.
to piggyback on that question, I think the public comment specifically was asking, and I don't have my notes in front of me, but I think it was, they were saying the language that was used said $50 more or something like that.
Yeah, it says
So-
actual cost plus 50%.
Plus 50%.
Yes.
50%. So
Yep.
if there was a way to have the base rate, I think would help clarify, knowing that plus 50% could potentially be added to that, but at least you have some idea if the base rate is $10 per whatever or $500 per whatever, but absent of any number, there's a challenge then to kind of have an idea of what the estimate would be. And so I think if there was a way to specify kind of, at the base level and then include the language about the 50%, I think that'll help to bring clarity a little bit.
Okay, we'll work on that. I think it depends on who's working on the actual FOIA request itself,
Sure.
because their hourly rate is different.
Yeah, so if that base is,
Yep,
down here, if the base is up
Yep.
here, whatever it is, at least it helps, I
we're
think.
to make that clear.
The city attorney wants to weigh in on that.
I was just going to say, it's difficult to do a base rate because it depends on the individual FOIA who's working on it. We have to base it on the salary of the lowest paid person in our department, and then how many hours go into that. And, sometimes we have police doing stuff if it's with the videos, and then we have people in our office do it. So it's a lot of calculation that goes into
Sure.
it, depending on the FOIA. So we kind of have to do it on a case-by-case basis.
I think I understand that, but I think if there was still a way to have some base level, so if it starts off with the lowest paid person, then perhaps that person's hourly rate or how, whatever it is, I don't know if it's per document, per request, per whatever, per video, per whatever, if there was a way to have a minimum, knowing that, because I think, if I'm interested in making a request, the minimum could determine whether I would make that request. So if the minimum is $1,000, that may automatically tell me I'm not interested in making a request.
Right.
If the minimum is $100, then I may say, well, let me at least make the request to see where I land.
And we typically make the requests on ones that are going to be extensive. That takes a lot of time and work to go
Then
into
the calculation
FOIA.
kicks
But
in.
some of the daily ones, it's a document or two. We don't usually assess a cost on those.
Yeah, so even that would be something good to explicitly state, I think, because again, if it's just one document, there may not even be a charge or
Right.
whatever. So I think just somehow, some way we need to make sure the public understands what they're getting into so that they can make a semi-educated decision about whether they want to make the request or not.
Okay, maybe we can get together.
Get together, we'll work on it, sure.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's really important. And I see Becky Jo in the back taking notes. So maybe, and I'm sure 311 probably fields a lot of calls about FOIA requests and how to submit those. So maybe we can get together and just make sure that it's really clear to the public. That'd be helpful. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, next that will take us to a resolution establishing our 2019 property tax millage rate.
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. I'll turn it back
Morning
to
again.
Jeff.
So this is establishing the 2019 property tax millage rate. We're proposing a millage rate of 8.9011, which is slightly less than last year's. And you can see part of that goes to the general operating, 2.7218 mils, 1.25 mils to capital, and 2.0044 to library operating. And then there's specific refuse millage, promotional millage, and parks millage, and also that dedicated library millage as well. For the average homeowner in Grand Rapids, the bill will go up slightly, just under $21, and that's to increase in taxable value from last year. Again, there was a Headley rollback of 0.0699 mils. The state limits the amount that you can raise in taxes based upon calculation of the taxable and equalized value. So with this millage will support our budget for next year.
Great, thanks. Commissioners, any questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, next up will take us to a resolution to consider adoption of our fiscal year 2020 city budget ordinance.
So moved.
Support.
All right,
Good. Lastly, and not least, so you were presented the budget on April 23rd, 2019, and we've had 3 or 4 meetings since then to discuss details. This memo outlines some of the changes that have occurred since the preliminary fiscal plan was adopted. I won't go through all of them. The main thing, what happened was we got our revised police and fire actuarial study, which resulted in additional contributions. So we made some adjustments. There's 3 positions that were deferred until later in the year, until we get a revised update. That was an admin analyst 1 in planning, a budget analyst in my department, fiscal services, and a senior electrical engineer. We made the adjustments to the pension costs, and then some of the other highlighted items, we removed some funding for the design of the division fire station, and then we also increased our income tax estimates from 3% to 4% next year. So all of these adjustments, we moved some money back from capital as well, balanced out the funds for the year. This will support a general fund budget of just under $148 million when passed or if passed. And I'd really like to take this time to thank my staff, Scott Sainin, Keith Hybor, Molly Eastman, and Karen Mendez. They make it look really easy, although it's a ton of work behind the scenes, but they deserve all the credit in the world for this budget. So with that, I will take any questions.
all right. I'll see, City Manager, is there anything you want to add?
Just, I'd like to echo what Mr. Dode said in terms of staff appreciation. I really appreciate the work of the budget staff and all of the city departments who took your feedback very seriously as part of our strategic plan, and I think this represents a good first step in helping us to accomplish our goals, and I appreciate your engagement, your thoughtful deliberation, your tough questions, and hopefully we will be able to have a good implementation plan based on what's approved this evening. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, Commissioner Calley?
I want to thank you, City Manager, for your work on this, and then the additional information that you sent over the weekend, which was very clear. And I would say clarity has been a benchmark of this whole process, which is very much appreciated, and I think it will be easy for our community to track, too, as we look at metrics, and that Ms. Sutter will work on that for us, and so we can track it all the way through our next, until we're there again next year. So thank you.
Thanks. Others, Commissioner Lenny?
City Manager, thank you, and thank you to your team for all of the work that has gone into the creation of this budget. The information you sent last night, thank you, Mr. DeLong, for the memo with all of the details and everyone who contributed to that. I do have a follow-up question on that, City Manager, that today I'd like to get your ear just to kind of get one question clarified, but I appreciate all of the work that's gone into this budget process. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioners, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I just want to say this is my second budget, so thanks to Eric for teaching me everything I knew last year. And it's been a lot easier to follow this year, mostly because it's not as new to me. But I think that there's so many things in here that I'm excited about. I hope everybody in Grand Rapids has a few items that they're excited about. And what an incredible value added to our residents for $21 a year increase. I think that that's the real ticket, is we're it's a nominal impact on people's pocketbooks for even more excellent services from the city. So congratulations to everyone.
All right. With that, I will call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'll add my thanks to everyone who worked so hard. I know this is months and months in the making, so.
And don't go celebrating too much, Mr. Dode.
That's
You
right.
walked away like, yes.
It's not over till tonight. Nothing is final until the evening meeting. All right, next that will take us to a resolution approving a joint off-premise tasting room license for Veritas Vineyards located at 40 Pearl Street Northwest.
So moved.
Support.
All right. Hello,
Good
welcome.
morning. I have John with me here from Veritas Vineyards, and we have accepted his application back on March 20th for a joint off-premise tasting room to be issued at 40 Pearl. This is the first joint off-premise tasting room we've ever done, so I'll let John explain what he's looking to do.
All right. First, if I could make a quick comment. As a former chairman of Southeastern Michigan Works, I want to follow up on Dr. Pink. I really appreciate the job that community colleges do. My son benefited. He had 28 credits when he went to college, ended up graduating magna cum laude. Of course, the dad's got to brag a little bit. But anyways, my name's John Burtka. I'm the founder of Veritas Vineyard, LLC. And the location that we're talking about, 40 Pearl, is an existing joint tasting room with Bonobo Winery, Bregman Brothers, and Grand Traverse Distillery. What we're asking for is an additional tasting room license there, and Grand Traverse Distillery will no longer be participating, so we're kind of just swapping tasting room licenses there. But we look forward to being a very vibrant part of this community. We're involved in both Jackson and Marshall communities right now, and we're excited about being part of Grand Rapids.
Well, we're excited to have you, John. Thank you for coming. That's really nice.
Well,
Thank you for being here.
The application has been fully reviewed and is being recommended for approval.
Commissioners, any questions? All right. We'll look forward to stopping by.
Yeah.
I do want to thank Amanda received my phone calls weekly and following up on status, as did some department managers too. So we were pretty proactive in this.
Good. We are glad to hear that. Thank you.
Thank
We're happy to support business. So, all right, Commissioners, with that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, next is a resolution approving changes to our downtown residential parking program. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. We have Mr. Nairmore here.
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. With the recently approved city strategic plan, one of the objectives in there is to develop an effective customer responsive parking system. So in July of 2003, the city created what is now currently our downtown residential parking program, and that is calculated using a 30% premium on top of what the monthly rate is, and that allows 24/7 access. So currently we have about 66 individuals that are taking advantage of that program in facilities across the city, but we have almost 70 people also on the wait list for that program. Since the original creation in 2003, a lot has changed in downtown. There's an increase in demand for residential parking and a lot more developments that are coming online and redevelopment of older buildings. So to be more responsive to some of those interests, staff this morning is bringing forth a recommendation to create sort of a change to the program, which is to create a centralized location at the Pearl and Ionia parking facility and a rate that is calculated with two existing rates, which is the standard monthly rate plus the night and evening rate. So two different programs that currently exist to kind of streamline it and make it easier for the public to understand, and also allow for gated access within this facility just for those residents. And that will either be on the bottom or the basement level, or will be on the top level. We're still working through some of the logistical challenges of what's going to work best for the facility overall. And this is similar to what was proposed at your May 7th budget work session, and we also encouraged individuals that we've heard from on our wait list to come and participate in the the public comment period on the fiscal year 20 budget, of which some of them did, and then we've also received some written comments as well, all generally supportive overall for the program. So this morning, we're just asking for your approval to move forward with this, to be able to offer that parking.
Great, thank you. And I'll start with Commissioner Calley, who has served for a number of years on our Mobile GR Committee.
Well, Josh and I have had many conversations about this item and others, and I really appreciate, over the weekend, he answered some questions for me too. But I really appreciate your openness to talking to the folks downtown and inviting them to come and speak, because I know this has been a concern of theirs for some time, and you've had to work through a lot of very difficult issues throughout the entire city as we are growing so fast. So thank you for your work on this, and I appreciate the public comments that have been coming our way, so that we can solve them one case at a time.
Yeah, I'll add my thanks. I think we have a lot of wonderful things happening here in the city, and that creates challenges as well, and that includes wanting more and more people to live downtown, particularly in these older buildings that don't have any access to parking. So if we're truly going to be a downtown and meet that 10,000 person mark with people living downtown, we're going to have to really work in partnership with a number of folks, and you've done that. So thank you. So, Commissioners?
We've been talking about parking since I've been a commissioner, and thank you for this creative solution to an issue that has been an issue for quite a long time. And also thank you for that snazzy tie and pocket square ensemble that you're sporting today. You made my day.
You get a picture of him and Commissioner Jones.
Right. Mayor,
City Manager?
I do want to clarify, I know there was a lot of requests at the public hearing asking for transferability, and as we have this proposed, that is not included. So this is an initial first step that didn't exist until we began looking for solutions, and so I think we need to take it just one step at a time. I'm pleased with the progress that we've made so far.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, any other questions? All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, next that will take us to consideration of a community benefit agreement to satisfy parking maximum requirements for a project that will be located at 501 Alabama Northwest.
Support.
Moved it, okay, thank you. All right, Mr. DeLong, you want to tell us about this?
Certainly, Mayor. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about this today. So we briefed you on May 7th regarding the need for handling the parking maximum rate that's established in the zoning ordinance. And then again on May 14th, we came before you and talked about a solution that we had created. And so since that kind of in between those two meetings, Planning Commission reviewed the special land use request of the company for their regional, and the company is Consumers Energy, for their regional headquarters at 501 Alabama, and approved their special land use request. So what we're working with here are two requirements in the zoning ordinance. One that creates a parking maximum, and another that provides the ability to work through that parking maximum by providing connected autonomous vehicle, charging facilities, electric vehicle, other mobility kinds of things. And then also Chapter 31 of the Code of Ordinances that talks about providing transportation demand management. So we conferred with the company, and they have provided a proposed community benefit plan that is attached to your agenda item. And in that plan, they commit to working with us. They will invest at least $100,000 in the first street connector park, which is a really good mobility improvement for that neighborhood. And also they're doing other things that happens to be in the Circuit West neighborhood where they've invested a considerable amount of money already, will invest more, including their headquarters. And also have worked with us on the main mobility pilot too. So in their community benefit plan, they talked about their commitment to equity, which I think is important for them to state to us, and was essentially an added benefit for us. So when we look at the value of the community benefit plan and what the ordinance says, we believe that the community benefit plan is very adequate, and we support and recommend your adoption of this. So the resolution that is attached to the agenda item would would have you accept the community benefit plan, and then we would follow that up with a simple agreement that commits them to doing the work and us to accepting it. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Okay, great.
Oh, one other thing I should say, sorry, before you get there, is that the resolution also provides for referral of the parking maximum concept to the plan work being done by the Equitable Economic Development and Mobility Study, because I think we have learned that we need to spend more time on this rate, and that's a good place for that consideration to happen.
All right, thank you. And I just want to welcome Roger and Karen from Consumers. And I'll see if anyone has any specific questions for either of you or for Eric. So commissioners, any questions or comments? Commissioner Calley?
Well, I'm excited about the First Street Connector, and thank you for all your work. You've listed so many things, and I know, Karen, you also serve on urban forestry, so thank you for that. That wasn't even here. I looked for it, and you should have been acknowledged, so I'm doing it right now. But hope that the second and third ward will also see some of these street connector parks at some point, so. We welcome you to continue to work with us on this whole transportation demand management program that we're working on.
Commissioners, other questions for Eric or for Consumers?
Eric?
City Manager?
In addition to Deputy City Manager DeLong's leadership, it could not be possible without the collaboration from our Planning Director, Suzanne Schultz, and our Transportation Director, Josh Naramore. So I want to thank them as well for helping to bring about a creative solution to this issue.
Thank you. And I will add, we are excited that Consumers is moving into Grand Rapids and adding some really great space over on the west side. We know that's a huge commitment, in addition to all the work that's being done with Circuit West, which I believe is going to be a pilot, and other cities are going to look to it as a potential for their own communities. So appreciate that investment in the city. All right, anything else? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, next, thank you, Eric. Next, that will take us to a resolution providing for the publication of a proposed ordinance to repeal Chapter 102 of Title 7 of the Grand Rapids City Code entitled Dance Floor. I must have something on my mind. Dance Hall, and adopt a new chapter entitled Indoor Events. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, Amanda, you want to tell us about this?
Good morning. That is quite a mouthful for that title. The clerk's office, in a coordinated effort with the staff from Code Compliance, Planning, Fire, Building Inspections, and the Attorney's Office, has made revisions to the existing dance hall license ordinance, which has produced the proposed indoor events ordinance. The original ordinance was enacted on May 4th, 1982 as public dance, and subsequently repealed and replaced on July 23rd, 2013 as dance halls. The current proposal would repeal the entire dance hall ordinance and replace it with a new indoor events ordinance. The goal of this ordinance has always been to promote, protect, and preserve the health, safety, and welfare of persons gathered at indoor events, and the goal remains the same with the proposed ordinance. By better defining the types of facilities required to obtain the license and requiring yearly fire inspections, the city will be better able to serve the community in these goals. Today, we are looking to set a date for a public hearing to give the public the opportunity to review and provide feedback on this proposed ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, questions?
Mayor, I'll just say that, and I did hear from you, thank you so much for your comments over the weekend, but we just were not able to open the attachments A and B. So you did answer the questions, but in the future, just to double check, if staff can double check what we can and cannot see on meeting track.
And maybe even follow up and send us the attachments directly.
Absolutely.
For this specifically. So, Commissioner?
I am curious, and I'm not sure who to ask this question of, but I remember probably about 9 months ago, there were some concerns about local halls and their fire inspections and their requirements. So I'm curious to know, how does this impact that? Because I think it was frozen during that time when it became an issue, and I'm just curious to know, how does this change impact the concern of the various fire halls?
Looks like we have our
An expert
representative from
coming
the fire
forward.
expert and guru coming forward.
Good morning.
You recall what I'm speaking of?
Yes,
Okay, good.
certainly.
Yeah, with the sprinkler system and fire code.
You
Yeah.
also recall that when we adopted the 2018 International Fire Code, we removed that section. So
Right.
that was not that would not be a requirement for unsprinklered facilities. This doesn't really change our operation at all from the fire department point of view. We conduct annual inspections already in places of assembly and as a part of our permitting, operational permit process. So really, the ordinance in itself will not have any effect
It
on
won't change that, okay. I didn't want the change to then now require it again after we had done that work. Thank you.
That's a great question.
And Mayor, I do want to add that I've checked again so the public can see these. The links are working, so.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
Thanks.
All right, commissioners, any other questions?
Yes.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I want to get clarification on the license, because I think I'm misunderstanding something here. And when we are talking about this ordinance for events, what does this include? Does this include events of people who own buildings but want to have, put parties in them, or do they have to have a license for that purpose, or can I get some clarification on that?
So this would be for indoor public and private assemblies, not, of course, private homes, but buildings that are intended to hold 50 or more people for an indoor event, to make sure that they meet all of the safety and fire requirements for that building.
Okay, so those individuals who have indoor events have to have a license for those indoor events?
Currently, under the dance hall ordinance, any banquet center, banquet halls, nightclubs, any facility that hosts weddings or has large gatherings of people is supposed to have that license.
Thank you.
Yep, that's a great question. So there's currently the license requirements in place, and this would update that and also change the name
Yes.
and provide clarification.
Yes, we're hoping that it'll provide more clarification and there'll be less confusion about what it is, because we are not licensing dance itself, we are licensing the buildings.
So are churches exempt from that?
Yes, they are.
The question
That's right. Is there dancing in your church?
How much dancing is going on?
Well, I do dance.
All right, commissioners, any other questions? All right, and remind us the date for the public hearing.
The date for the public hearing will be the next meeting.
So June 4th.
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. All right, next that will take us to a consideration of adoption of a resolution approving a memorandum of agreement for river restoration.
So moved.
Support?
All right, and Mr. DeLong, who has been working on this for well over a year, I believe, will present.
Yes, Mayor, it's been a while. So,
Wow.
and everyone who is part of the partnership has been working on it as well, and it's a big and robust partnership. So, and it actually dates, the initial part of this dates back to 2013, when we were designated as part of the Urban Waters Federal Partnership, and we became engaged with 14 federal agencies. Of those 14, we have proceeded with a really strong relationship with several of them that has led us to the point now where we're ready to have this memorandum of agreement. So those parties would be the Great Lakes Fishery Commission, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Great Lakes Grand Rapids Whitewater, and of course the city. And this agreement would be kind of define the relationship between the partners as we work on the upper reach of the river restoration, which would be essentially from Bridge Street up to past Ann Street. And so the objectives are to promote public safety, to protection of flood and protection from flooding. We of course want to have a barrier to prevent invasive species from migrating up through the Grand River watershed. And then fish passage, habitat restoration, and public restoration are also objectives. The partners to the MOA agree that one possible alternative to provide that is construction of a adjustable hydraulic structure that is envisioned as part of the river restoration project. And we're working towards, through the process right now, of the environmental impact statement that's being done by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So the MOA affirms the responsibilities of the partners to one another and kind of cements the partnership that we've been creating over the last several years that the mayor refers to. So I would recommend that we move forward to execute the MOA and I commend it to you for your consideration and approval. And as we move forward, of course, we couldn't do this without our partners, the partners that I mentioned that are externally, but also we have several local partners, including Grand Rapids Whitewater and their staff, and our internal team as well that has been very central to this, which includes Jay Steffen, Michael Stahl, Kristen Falf, our city attorney's office, Sherry Batzer, has been very active in this. City Manager Washington has been important to moving this forward, and also our outside consultant, James Mulligan. So it's been a good team that's helped move this forward, and Mayor, you've been central to helping move this forward, along with Bob Lamb from the Great Lakes Fisheries Commission.
Thanks. All right, commissioners, questions? All right, City Manager, you want to add anything? You've been around the table as we've worked through the details of this.
Yes, I never thought I would learn so much about mussels and sea lamprey and other species as part of the job, but this has been real good. And in addition to this collaboration, we've talked, and I had the chance to attend one of the community meetings, how some of our contractors and local entrepreneurs will be able to take advantage of the project, particularly once we begin construction, as well as hopefully some of the development around it will benefit members from our local community. So I appreciate this important step.
Thank you. It's another step forward, and I'll add, in addition to the work around workforce development, particularly our partnership with GRCC, we have a really strong partnership with GRPS and the Wegge Foundation, and they are funding a number of projects right now for education for students about water and the river and the development in partnership with the zoo. So there's some really great opportunities coming out, not just for workforce development, but also for education. So hopefully we'll have a number of young people become biologists or river engineers. You never know. So
more for GRCC to do. Bill's gone. We've got another thing to put on his list. So Eric, and in regards to what you were just saying, Mayor, about the educational opportunities, the adjustable hydraulic structure, is that going to be a place where there might be an opportunity for that education to take place, like a platform, something to look at? I know we've got our fish ladder. We're going to have the rapids down closer to 196. Will that also be a place where people can go and enjoy looking at it, understanding it?
Yeah, I believe that there will be. So this will touch down on the west side, kind of where the MDOT building currently is.
Okay.
We'll come across, and then we'll touch down at our north yard, the north water yard.
Mm-hmm.
And so recalling the River for All project, the plan for the north yard was pretty extensive, with repurposing of the current water reservoir tank, and also positioning for the structures that'll have to support the adjustable hydraulic structure. And there will be dry boat passage there, portaging, and there'll be all kinds of riverbank stuff as well. So I think there'll be plenty of opportunities to engage in interpreting this. There'll be a kind of a river wetland that's north of there, within the property that we purchased from the railroad company. And so I think it's going to be a pretty active area.
Right.
Yeah, I agree that I think there will be a lot of opportunity for education and observing, but I also want to be really clear, if the decision is to move forward with the hydraulic structure, that will be led and built by the Army Corps of Engineers. So the city won't be leading that portion. All right, any other questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. Thank you, Eric. So Commissioners, I'm going to call the question for executive session. Also, I want to remind those of you who serve on the legislative team, we have a meeting at 12:30 in room 527, and then we're back here tonight at 7 for our evening meeting. So can I get a motion to go into executive session? And again, this is to have a conversation about 2 legal opinions. All right, so I'll start down here. Commissioner Repart?
Yes.
Moody?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Lanier? Yes. O'Connor? Yes. Jones? Yes. And yes for me. All right, so please proceed down to the attorney's office.
And no public safety today.
And no public safety today.